Okay. Welcome everybody. Uh, meet me. How? Where's the sharing link thing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to share the live and then we would proceed from there. Okay, so how do I get finally on TikTok? Welcome, welcome so much. Please help us to share the link. We will be starting very soon. Okay, welcome so much to today's show, to today's talk, and I am your rural health advocate. My name is Obipesebima Priscilla, and thank you so much for joining. And I truly do apologize for starting very late today. Thank you all so much for being part of this session. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe. And you would not want to miss next week, because next week we are having a special guest that would throw more light on mental health. So, what I'm doing today is just to give you an opening speech on men's mental health. But next week, we are going to have our guest, our special guest, and you do not want to miss next week. So, thank you all so much for being part of this amazing group, being part of this Thank you so much for being part of it. Please help us to share, help us to like, help us to subscribe so we could continue. Please help us to share, help us to like. Just keep tapping, keep liking, invite the people you can, the boys, the girls, the women, the ancestors. Just keep inviting everybody. And it's going to be a 20-minute talk where we are going to learn and, try to educate ourselves. But before I go on, you know me, I'm an advocate for the HPV vaccine, to help prevent cervical cancer. Again, ladies, have you had your HPV vaccine? Ladies, has your teenage daughter has her HPV vaccine? Ladies, again, have you had your pap smear screening? You don't want to miss it. You need to go book that appointment and get that pap smear screening done. Get that pap smear screening done. You need to go and do your pap smear. Cervical cancer is no joke. Cervical cancer is no joke. You need to go get that screening done. Okay? Cervical cancer is no joke at all. You need to go get that screening done. You know me, I'm your rural health advocate. I would always say it, go get the screening done. Cervical cancer is not a child's play. Prevention, they say, is better than cure. So thank you so much for joining. Please help us to share the live. Help us to bring more people on board, because today is it's a very interesting conversation we are going to have. We are looking at the loudest silence, the loudest silence. So we are looking at men's mental health. We are looking at domestic abuse, and we are also looking at adult sexual assault. Interesting. Men's mental health, domestic abuse, adult sexual assault. Very, very interesting. So if you have your questions, if you have whatever you think you need to ask, please feel free. Feel free to ask. Feel free to, you know, to say whatever you want to say. Feel free to keep your comments. We are here to learn. So you're welcome to ask your questions. Men's mental health is no joke, and I'm here to help us. Okay. So today, like I said, is the loudest silence. So it's actually talking about men's mental health. Like I said, it's talking about domestic abuse. There's something, it's called the pain we laugh out. Laugh at. Now, before I continue, I need to give you a gentle warning because this part of a conversation includes domestic abuse, it includes sexual assault. It also, because nobody will be asked to, I will not ask you to share a personal experience publicly, no. But anyone who feels overwhelmed is free to, step aside and seek support. Now, let me ask you a question. When you hear the word domestic violence, when you hear the word domestic violence, what picture immediately enters your mind? When you hear the word domestic violence, what picture immediately enters your mind? When you hear the word domestic violence, what picture enters your mind? Domestic violence, what picture enters your mind? You see, when you hear the word domestic violence, most people imagine a frightened woman and a violent man. And we must continue protecting women and girls from violence because their suffering is real. You understand? And then it's widespread and unacceptable. But today, I want us to make room for another person who is often missing from the picture. The man who is frightened inside his own home. The man who is frightened inside his own home. We have men that are frightened inside their own home. Now, supporting them does not take support away from women. Let's get that clear. So, supporting a man that is in domestic violence does not take that away, support from women. Now, I want you to understand your take home should be that compassion is not a competition. I want you to know that compassion is not a competition. Compassion, in this case, when we are talking about domestic violence, is not a competition. So let's look at story A. I call it story. Okay, story one. The man nobody believed. So let me introduce you to Peter. So Peter is 39 years old. He's married. He has two children and works as an accountant, correct? People describe him, as a calm, respectful, and responsible person. So at a family gathering like this, his wife would joke and say, Peter cannot make a decision without me. Everybody laughs. They say, yeah, so Peter cannot make a decision without me. Everybody laughs. Everybody's enjoying it. Everybody's having fun. Everybody laughs at what the wife is saying. Now she tells people how much he earns without people asking. She criticizes Peter's body, even in public. She reads his private messages. She controls his bank accounts, his bank cards. And when he tries to disagree with her, she insults him in front of the children. And you hear words like, "You are useless. You are not a real man. No woman would ever want you." So you begin to hear things like that. Then one evening, during an argument, she decides, that is Peter's wife, decides to throw a glass at him. It misses his face and then it actually breaks against his wall. A few weeks later, she goes to slap him. And then another night, she scratches his neck and strike him with, a household object. Peter doesn't fight back. So Peter, maybe because he does not want to hurt her, or maybe because he does not want the narrative to change. So because Peter knows that what people may assume when they see, a large man standing beside a smaller woman, and partly because she has warned him, she has threatened him, if you try reporting me, yeah, who do you think people will believe in that situation? If you try reporting me, who do you think people will believe? So that the next morning, after the argument, after the fight, after the troubles, Peter then wears a shirt with, a high collar to hide the scratches he has received from his wife. So at work, his friends tend to notice that, oh, there's something wrong. What happened to your neck? Peter laughs. Oh, he covers it up. He says, oh, you know how dangerous when you're trying to shave. Everyone laughs with him. Everybody mocks him like, oh, Peter, you need to be careful next time. You need to make sure that when you're taking care of yourself, you are doing something great about it. So Peter is not laughing because the situation is funny. He's laughing because the truth actually feels more dangerous than the lie. So Peter comes to a show. So let's say, for instance, he comes to a show, and then I asked him, oh, Peter, why did you not tell anybody what is happening in your house? And Peter says, oh, because I thought, when I come out as a man to say that, oh, my wife is beating me, my wife is harassing me, or my partner is beating me, my partner is harassing me, they would laugh at me because I'm bigger than her. Now you realize that people have been taught, growing up, men have been taught to, bottle up their emotions. They've been taught to hide their feelings, but it doesn't have to be like that. So I asked Peter, so Peter, why are you not leaving? Because if you're going through this emotional torture, emotional trauma, emotional harm is affecting you at work, is affecting your children, the best thing will be to leave. And you know what Peter said? Where will I go? What will my family say? Nobody will believe me that a woman is beating me up. All these situations. Now, abuse is still abuse, even when the victim is a man. Now, I want us to understand, as we're talking about mental health, men's mental health, abuse is actually more than being hit. So, a man may be abused without having visible bruises, okay? Now, a spouse may humiliate her partner or her husband constantly. So she controls his money, isolate him from friends, destroys his belongings, slap, pressure, or force him into different sexual activities. And when women are in charge, you hear things like, nobody will believe you. Whatever I say, that is what they will believe, because you know what? I'm a lady. So everybody's going to believe me. So everybody keep quiet. And unfortunately, sometimes we women, we're right. We are right about society. A man tells his friend, imagine your friend comes to you and tells you that, oh, do you know what? My wife hits me. Everybody's going to laugh, because what you will hear is, what did you do that your wife has to hit you? You cannot control your woman. That is the thing you will hear people say. Now the man has reported that, oh, he's undergoing violence at home and everything, but instead of people to say, oh, how do we help you, how do you come out of this situation, the same way they would do for the other gender, what do? They tell him, oh, how can you allow a woman to beat you, control your home? Now let's go to the African setting. Now when you pick emotional violence, it can mean that, a man is being insulted every day until he begins believing the insult. It's like telling a child every day, you're very stupid, you're very useless, you cannot amount to anything good. You compare the child to someone else, or you compare your spouse, your husband, to someone else. Just keep comparing your partner to someone else. It begins to affect them. So your spouse begins to see, so you begin to speak into the life of your spouse. Oh, you cannot amount to anything. Oh, It's like saying, can anything good come out of Nazareth? You cannot amount to anything. Whatever you think you can amount to, it doesn't make sense. This is who you are. This is who you're going to be. So we have emotional violence. We have what is called economic violence. Okay. Economic violence, meaning that you have his salary taken or be denied, or you deny him access to share properties. Then we have the sexual violence. Now, sexual violence can mean being pressured or forced into sexual activity without the man's consent. Don't worry, we'll get there, because when you hear this, you'll be like, why you go? Why will you do that? He's supposed to just complete. Then we have physical violence as well. So physical violence means maybe going to work with an injury from the house, and then behind every percentage is somebody like Peter. Remember the story of Peter when Peter asked, when Peter said to himself, "No one is going to believe me." Now I want to discuss something with us, okay? An experience that society rarely allows men to name sexual assault during adulthood. Now, the word molestation is usually associated with children. Now, when it happens to an adult, clearer language will be, oh, sexual assault, it will be rape, it will be sexual coercion. Now, let me introduce you to my darling Kojo. Now, let's say Kojo is 28 years old. Okay. So after Kojo is 28 years old. So in the evening, after a social gathering, after a social event, Kojo decides to walk home. So someone he knows ignores his refusal and forces sexual contact on him. Kojo does not shout, Kojo does not fight, Kojo does not do anything. He said in the following morning, he tells himself, I should have stopped. I'm a man. How could this happen to me? Blah, blah, blah. Kojo goes to work. Kojo is smiling. Kojo is looking at his emails. Nobody knows what he feels because something has left his body. Now, there's this dangerous myth we have about male survivors. Okay, so a male survivor may remain silent because society has taught him several dangerous lies. Now, I want you to listen attentively to those dangerous lies. Society has taught the male survivors several dangerous lies, and the number one lie is men always want sex. Men always want sex. The second one is a strong man cannot be sexually assaulted. The second one is a strong. If he did not fight, it was not an assault. It was not assault. So if the man did not fight back, it was not an assault. So if his body responded, he must have enjoyed it. If a woman did it, it cannot be sexual violence. Am I communicating? Then, if a man did it, the assault determines the victim's sexual orientation. Now, every one of these statements misunderstands consent. Now, consent is not assumed because somebody is male. Okay. Consent is not assumed because somebody is male. Consent is not the absence of screaming. Freezing can actually be a survival response. Fear, intoxication, manipulation as well. Authorities and physical, for all these things can remove, a person's ability to consent. So we have this involuntary physical response that you begin to ask yourself, oh, why are you agreeing to this when you would have screamed, when you would have done this? This is, because of the way society has labeled the the men and everything. Even when a little child, a boy child, gets molested, he can't speak up because will the society believe you? Now, sexual violence against African men is actually not imaginary. It is happening. It is happening. Okay. Even in today's 2026, it is happening. So, why do we think men keep silent? Why do men stay silent when you encounter violence, when your mental health is being tampered with? Why do you still stay silent? Now, I came to realize that a man can keep an assault secret because he fears being called weak. Yes. If you go to somebody and you tell me, oh, Nana comes to me and says, oh, Prissy, this is what happens to me, the first thing on my mind will be, Nana is weak, oh, so Nana cannot fight back. So a man fears being called weak. Hmm? Now, he may fear being blamed for drinking or visiting a particular place or trusting the wrong person. Now, a married man that has been assaulted, sorry, may fear that his spouse will misunderstand what has happened. Now, a religious man, maybe a pastor or whoever, may fear that his community will shame him and not understand from his own point of view. Now, you hear things like, so, for instance, a heterosexual man is being assaulted by another man. You hear things like, oh, when a man is being assaulted by a woman, you hear things like, oh, you should be grateful. How can a woman force you? You probably enjoyed it. That is why you did not say anything. So you begin to realize that these survivors may begin to experience nightmares, they experience panic, anger, depression, difficulty with intimacy and different substance abuse. But because they cannot explain the wound, because they cannot express themselves for people to understand. So some of them go into drinking, some of them see anger, some of them try to avoid intimacy. So let's look at the wider mental health picture. So you hear things like, oh, as a man, you're supposed to be silent when you have financial pressure, when there is unemployment around you, when your relationship breaks down, when you are suffering from domestic abuse, when there's sexual trauma, when there's isolation problem, when you have depression, anxiety. Okay, so I'm going to describe something to you. So your brother comes to you, killer, your brother comes to you and tells you that my wife hit me last night. So what would you say? Would you say, what did you do to her? Or would you say, are you safe? Has this happened before? Now you realize that most of us would say, what did you do to her that she hit you? Now you won't say this, are you safe? Has this happened before? Now let's take scenario two. Your friend comes to you, your male friend comes to you and says that, oh, someone forced me into maybe. Okay, so Killer said he will say, are you safe? And has this happened before? Thank you so much, Killer. So, number two. So, Nana, your friend comes to you and says, someone forced me into sexual activity that I do not want to engage in. Will you say, but you are a man? Or would you say, I believe you, it was not your fault. How can I support you? Most of us will say, you are a man. Only few people would actually say, I believe you. How can I support you? So when you see a man who is normally social, goes out, parties, goes out, parties, Nana, please just answer the question. Goes out, parties, then all of a sudden the man becomes withdrawn. So the man starts drinking heavily, stop answering, messages, stop responding to calls. So what will you label him as? Or will you label him as being rude? Or will you sit the man down and say, you have not seemed like yourself recently? What is happening? Let's talk. Now, when you label him as being rude, he doesn't care. What are you doing? You're shutting the door. But when you give him an opportunity to express himself, you're saving his life. So when a man comes to you, or your friend comes to you, your male friend comes to you and says, this is what happened to me, or I think I've been abused, do not begin with investigations like, why did you stay? Or you start laughing at the person and cracking jokes, and then you tell the person, let's go drink, let's go to the pub, let's have a glass, let's do this. No. And do not immediately confront the abuser in a way that could increase the danger. So what you could say to that man would be, I believe you are actually hurting. And you thank the person for actually trusting you, to open up. Then you tell the person, this is not your fault. Are you safe? What do you want me to do? Now, men go through a lot of things, they bottle up a lot of emotions. And like I keep saying, the men have been taught to not express your emotions. You've been taught to bottle up things. You've been taught to, not speak out when you need to. So you carry the family burden, you carry the family. I'm actually talking about the ones that actually do the job, okay? You carry the family burden, you carry the family stress, you have no time to rest, you have no time to think about yourself, you have no time to even take yourself out on the streets. So when you realize all these things and then you go through some mental breakdown, you hear things like, oh, be a man. Oh, you need to toughen up. Oh, this word, you have to toughen up. You need to make it. Then it becomes so bad and so terrible if you're being compared to someone. So if you're being compared to maybe your male colleague that is doing better, or your spouse or your partner compares you to that male colleague, and it affects you emotionally, it drains you. It drains you. And this goes both ways, because there are some people that are also going through this thing and they never speak up. Now, I want us to remember that when you're supporting a survivor, whoever the person is, it does not require us to hate any gender. Now, the problem is not men, the problem is not women. The problem is violence, the problem is humiliation, the problem is coercion, and the social silence that protects them. Let people speak out. Let them express how they feel. Okay. If the thing is, whether we like it or not, if your mental health is being tampered with, you'll just be moving and delivering things, but you're not in the right frame of mind. So there are actually men in our homes and towns, who are carrying injuries we cannot see. I would always advise you, go for therapy. You get the necessary help you need so that you don't keep transferring trauma and anger and bitterness to people that really do not deserve it. Now, a man may be beaten by the person with whom he shares a bed with. Yes, men get beaten by women. Like, is when you think about it, it's actually funny, but it happens. Okay, men gets beaten by women. Now, a man may be insulted until he no longer recognizes his worth. So if you're in a marriage where, or in a relationship where the man is kind, loving, listen, the man is kind, loving, he's provides. You see the way I described the relationship here. So if you're a man and you're doing the opposite, I do not see the why you would have all this. So when a man is kind, loving, he's kind, he's loving, he's caring, and you begin to insult the person, you're damaging the person internally. You begin to insult, abuse the person. You're damaging the person until he no longer sees his worth. So you could come back today and then you say, oh, look at your mates. Your mates are driving the range. Oh, your mate is in this country. Your mate is in that country. Your mate is in this country. You just keep comparing. Now, I want you to understand that a man may have been sexually assaulted at age 10, at age 7, at age 18, 28. He may be a father right now. He may be a teacher listening to me. He may be a pastor. He may be a businessman. He may be a student, a police officer. He might also be a husband or a community chief or a respected community leader. Now, I want us to understand that trauma does not check a person's job title before entering his life. Trauma does not have to check, oh, if you're the richest man in the world, oh, you own this, you own that, you've traveled to this place, you've gone to that place. Trauma does not check a person's job title before entering their lives. Oh, I've used Nana as example too. Trauma does not check a person's job title before entering his life. Okay, so pain does not ask whether society considers him masculine enough to suffer. So pain is not going to come and ask you and say, oh, killer or Nana, oh, pain. Are you a man? Are you male or female? So I'll seek permission from you before you are allowed to suffer. It doesn't make sense. So let's stop asking, how could a man allow that to happen? Let's us ask, how can we help him become safe? Okay, so let's stop asking, how could a man allow that to happen? How could a man allow this? How could a man allow that? No. Let us ask, how can we help him become safe? Let's stop saying a real man would fight back. Let us remember that surviving is not weakness. Surviving is not weakness. So let us stop laughing when a man reports that his spouse has hurt him. Let us stop assuming that men always consent to sexual activity, because their third man would always be at attention. So let us not assume that a man would always consent to sexual activity. And let us stop demanding proof of suffering before offering compassion. And this goes to everybody. Let us stop demanding proof of suffering. Oh, let's see evidence. Let's see evidence before offering compassion. I want you to understand that the strongest man in the room may not be the man who never cries. It may be the man who finally says, something happened to me. I need help. It may be the man who says, I am not safe. I think I'm damaged. I think I'm emotionally, damaged. I think mentally I'm going through some emotional, trauma. I need help. I need to seek help before I transfer this or before I transfer whatever childhood trauma I have to someone else. And now the strongest community which we are right now is we tell the person, we believe you. Yes, we believe you. You're not alone. What happened to you does not actually reduce your worth. And we say, well, thank you for trusting us. Thank you for actually coming here to seek help. So let's build homes where our take home today is, let's build homes where nobody, woman or man, must hide violence to protect the family's reputation, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, whether it's sexual, whether it's economic, whatever it is. Let's build homes where nobody, woman or man, would have to hide. They should not hide violence to protect a family's reputation. Now, let's build towns where a community where survivors are supported rather than ridiculed. And let us create a generation of especially African men. Let's create a generation of especially African men who understand that seeking help is not surrendering. Let's build that generation that if you go for therapy, you're not a mad person. Let's build a generation. Let's create a generation where we do not pass trauma to our kids that would affect their mental health at the long run. So we need to understand right now, as men, I'm not a man, sorry. Okay, I'm speaking to men, that seeking help is not surrender. If you know your childhood was your upbringing, you've been compared a lot to people, you actually need help, and there's help available. I don't think anyone should shy away from getting the help they need. So our comments, we are seeing comments on YouTube. So we have physical abuse, and someone said nothing is small until it is compared. Yes, and I agree. Physical abuse as well. Until you compare something to somebody, it is not small. But why do you have to compare your partner to someone else? Okay? Men are humans as well. I know we've got the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's focus on the good one for today. Okay. So we need to do better. And to every man that needs help, to every man that needs to talk to somebody, there are professionals available. There are professionals that can listen to you. There are professionals that you could go for counseling. There are professionals that could give you a listening ear to understand why you're doing this thing you're doing. If you've been sexually abused growing up, you could go. Killer, all of you cannot be good men, but it's okay. So you could seek the help you deserve. Okay, you need, sorry. Let us try not to raise our kids, our men, with the same trauma you were raised whilst growing up. Is not right. It's not right. So I will leave you with a closing statement. So be that man who says, something happened to me. Be that man who says, I am not safe. Be that man who says, I need help. Be that man who says, oh, I need to do this the right way. And you, if you have a good partner, a great partner, you need to stop comparing your partner to another person. So today's Men's Mental Health Talk Show, the loudest silence, the pain we laugh at, the not listening to the men, talking about their health and everything. So I asked the question when we started, so I'll just summarize with that. So when you hear killer, when you hear the word domestic violence, okay, my auntie is on the line. Auntie Joanne. So when you hear the word domestic violence, what picture immediately enters your mind? Yes, let's use the chat icon. So when you hear the word domestic violence, what picture enters your mind? So you realize that when you hear the word domestic violence, you imagine a frightened woman and a violent man. So today's talk is for us. So if your partner, okay, Killer says, what about if your partner is not doing something good and you want improvement from her? That is why you have communication. You could sit the partner down and try to explain. In a situation, in a situation where the partner does not want to listen, you could take the partner for counseling. There should be someone in the life of the partner that the partner listens to. That, oh, if you pick up your phone and say, oh, I'm going to call this person, you are misbehaving, the partner would, have that nudge to listen to you. So I want us to understand that the man who is frightened inside, there's that man that is frightened inside his home that cannot speak out. So thank you all very much for today. on the pain we laugh at, looking at men's mental health. Next week, we are going to have a very beautiful guest, a special guest that would give us a more insight on the women's mental health as well. And we are going to look into it. But before I leave you, thank you so much, Lovette. Thank you, everybody, for being on this show. Thank you for liking. Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you to my YouTube followers. Thank you for Facebook. Thank you so much. But before I leave you, thank you, Faustina. Faustina says violence. Make sure your teenage daughter, your niece, your cousin has had the HPV vaccine. And if you know you are on this chat right now, this room right now, and you are sexually active as a woman, make sure you go for your pap smear screening. HPV need a show for face. Thank you so much, Ifia. Make sure you go for your pap smear screening. And you as a man, killer, make sure all the ladies around you have done their pap smear screening. Nana, make sure the ladies around you have done their pap smear screening. Okay. Make sure they've gone their pap smear screening, they've gotten the results, and they are okay. Okay. And make sure the teenagers around you have gotten the HPV vaccine before they become sexually active. Please and please, cervical cancer is real. It is no joke. Cervical cancer is real. It is no joke. Okay? Until I see you next week, by God's grace, and I would see you again, and then we'll talk more into mental health. And until next week, I am your rural health advocate, Obepise Bima. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and keep a date with me next week, 6 p.m. Nigerian time, 5 p.m. Ghana time. Make sure you tune in. And we have a lot to learn. Still leave your comments, still rewatch the video on YouTube, on Facebook. And I love you all. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.